And you say we have the best coverage in America. We often think we've got it all figured out, and that our contingency plans are too many for us to really get stuck in anything. Someone or something is always going to be there to bail you out. It's only a matter of time. But what happens when all that is taken away from you? And both the people and possessions you thought you could rely on start to fail you. At some point, you just want anybody to hear you. And the movements in the hallway create this sense of hope that someone's going to come get you. You can hear them, and you know they can hear you. But then the sounds of the footsteps fade away, and you're left dejected, wondering if another person might pass by and hear your cries. But as you wait, you might as well entertain yourself as best as you can. It's pretty pathetic, I know, but sometimes imaginary friends are easier to deal with and can actually really keep you company. And they get boring too. And just like with any day of work, you come home, you go through your motions, and lights out. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind. And before I knew it, my bathroom started to seem more like a grave. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that we should frequently remember death, and called it the destroyer of all pleasures. And though this might have been an odd place to do so, I probably thought of it more in those few moments than I had over the last year. It's amazing that it took getting stuck in a bathroom to start thinking about what it would be like to be alone in the grave. But I guess that's the point. Expect the unpredictable at any time. And death is the ultimate unpredictable. It was dark, cold, and lonely. And suddenly every little sound was as loud as a jackhammer. Then I woke up to a nightmare that the fire that followed the grave was now to consume me, and that I could only hold off my inevitable fate for so long, because no one was going to hear or see me suffocate or burn. But Allah chose to spare me. The smoke alarm was in another unit, but the alarm I needed to hear was internal. So I did what I hadn't done for a long time and thought I had no time for it. No, it wasn't the best of places to start, but I had no choice, and surely my Lord is understanding and forgiving. Alhamdulillah. Suddenly there was clarity and an overwhelming sense that everything was going to be okay. Not because any person would hear me, but the only one who needed to hear me.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Live Real Talk. Being the first day of Ramadan 1441, Ramadan Mubarak and Saw Makbul. And there are still some brothers and sisters who are fasting, are planning to start their fast tomorrow, which is going to be the 25th of April. We still wish them Saw Makbul and Ramadan Mubarak. So for all those who have fasted and started Ramadan today, Ramadan Mubarak and Saw Makbul once again, right here from Horizon TV and the Live Real Talk team. On 17th of April, that is last week on Friday, arguably the largest trading center in Eastern Central Africa, I'm talking about Eastleigh, was brought to a standstill. The business was shut simply because we want to control the spread of this COVID-19 pandemic. Alhamdulillah, a couple of days later, that is, I'm talking about yesterday, which was 23rd of April, businesses were open and it's business as usual at Eastleigh. Today, inshallah, we'll be talking about the closure of business at Eastleigh, and we're joined by Ahmed, popularly known as Asmali, in studio, who will be having this amazing discussion with. Later on, of course, we're going to be joined by the MP for the area, that is Honorable Yusuf Hassan. And of course, to touch on matters security and civil society, we're going to talk to Hussein Khalid from Haki Africa, all the way from Mombasa. Last but not least, to get updates on the mass testing that the government started recently, we're going to be talking to Damari's Tor from the National Response Committee on this COVID-19. Without further ado, Brother Asmali, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for making time and joining us this afternoon, Brother Asmali. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, nashukuru sana.
Brother, closing down of the trading center has had a huge impact on the country's economy, because we're looking at a trading center that as of 2019 April, it used to give the Kenya government 1 billion Kenyan shillings in terms of taxes and revenue from the businesses. Thousands were getting their daily bread from the trading center. They were affected for a couple of days. What is their state currently, Asmali?
Shukran. First of all, I want to start by wishing my Muslim brothers and sisters a blessed month of Ramadan and Saw Makbul. May Allah grant us peace and health, inshallah, this great month of Ramadan. And we pray that this coronavirus pandemic that's ruining this world at the moment blow away, inshallah. And we pray that all the Muslims across the world and all human beings across the world be free of this coronavirus pandemic. Coming to Eastleigh, brother, as you know, Eastleigh is a huge business hub. It's one of the most important business hubs in Eastern Central Africa. It's estimated that 30% of Nairobi County revenue comes from Eastleigh. And the closure of Eastleigh was necessitated by the fact that we wanted to take the initiative of making sure that we overcome or fight this coronavirus pandemic. It was a voluntary exercise which was taken by the Eastleigh business community. It was closed not because of any other reason, but because we wanted to make sure that all the malls in Eastleigh were in tandem with the Ministry of Health regulations. For example, having a thermometer at the entrance of every mall, a hand wash at the entrance of every mall, a sanitizer at every stall, customers and traders wearing masks, and so on and so forth. So we wanted to make sure that all these guidelines were followed so that the business hub remains one of the most vibrant hubs in Eastern Central Africa.
So can you confirm that all the businesses, all the malls that have reopened as from yesterday, they've all adhered to the regulations by the government?
Very true. As we speak, all malls in Eastleigh are open. People can go to do their shopping, especially during this month of Ramadan. And also as we go towards the Eid, inshallah. There are about 45 to 46 shopping malls in Eastleigh, each with around 100 stalls inside on average. So the business hub is open, it's business as usual. And it's very important that we took the initiative of closing them down for a few days so that it can be fumigated, for example. And we did that because, as you have heard, Places like Ruaka has been closed
Yes.
because of this pandemic. So the Eastleigh business community took the proactive initiative of doing this on their own behalf and on behalf of all the businesses and people in Eastleigh. You can we hear of the imminent lockdown of places like Mombasa, for example. We heard of the lockdown in Mandera. So it was very important that the business community leaders, in conjunction with the political and religious leaders, including the area MP who took a huge initiative himself, the Honorable Yusuf Hassan of Kamkunji, who led actually the business leaders in making sure that the business hub remains disease-free, virus-free. And we've had our fair share of victims. We had one person who died of the coronavirus in Eastleigh. We had some other people who were taken to hospital in Eastleigh. People from Eastleigh taken to hospital and quarantine areas in Nairobi. So it was very important that we took the initiative of making sure that the business hub remains a business hub, free of any pandemic.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Being a densely populated area as it is, I'm talking about Eastleigh, and businesses were closed down for 5 to 6 days. Okay, and this is the main economic activity. This is the main activity in Eastleigh. One of the main activity, rather, besides residents. Yeah, it's business. So this move, can you confidently say that it has impacted on none of the regulations of the government? Talk about social distancing.
Yes, in fact, every mall now, as we speak, has a social distancing supervisor whose role is to make sure that people observe social distancing of 1.5 to 2 meters. And also to make sure that only a certain number of people are served at a certain time. And then when they come out, other people can actually go into the mall and do their shopping. So not only have we followed the regulations, we've actually made sure that we have exceeded the government guidelines and made sure that every mall in Eastleigh, and it's very difficult because it was a very difficult initiative to do, because Eastleigh has at any given day over 100,000 people coming to do shopping in Eastleigh. 100 to 120,000 people come and do shopping in Eastleigh every other day. So it's a huge, significant market hub. So it took a lot of sacrifices. It took a lot of difficulties making sure that it was closed down for a few days so that the Ministry of Health guidelines were followed to the letter.
Thank you so much. Interesting that you mentioned about the losses that might be incurred. Would you just give an estimate? Because as of 2019 April, Eastleigh used to give at least over 1 billion, just as I mentioned in the introduction, over 1 billion in terms of taxes. Just a rough estimate. How much might have been lost over the past couple of days that businesses were closed down?
Brother Faisal, it's very hard to estimate. I will be lying.
Working figures.
If I give an estimate, but it's a lot of money. Huge revenue. Like I said, you can imagine 100,000 people coming to do their shopping in Eastleigh who did not do their shopping for a few days. There was a huge of losses, but it was worth it. We made sure that businesses came back to work. And like we say all the time, we can bring back the economy, but we cannot bring back lost lives. So it was very important that we took the initiative to close down malls and shops. And to give you a rough estimate, Eastleigh is not only a textile shopping place. We do electronics. We have pharmacies in Eastleigh. We have hotels and restaurants in Eastleigh. We do have all sorts of shops, shoe shops. We have textile, like I said. So it's a huge industry in its own capacity. So there was a huge loss of revenue for the traders, and also a lot of inconvenience for the shoppers. But it was worthwhile, and we're glad that we took the proactive initiative, and Eastleigh is now back to business.
Okay, thanks so much. Just shifting gears a little bit, we're going to be talking to Damaris Stowe from the National Response Committee. Damaris Stowe, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us, Damaris. Now, Damaris, the government was set to start to roll out the mass testing program anytime, but we didn't get information on when exactly they started. But nonetheless, we are getting information that it has already started. Would you mind giving us an update on the process of mass testing, how far it is, what we have done so far?
Thank you very much. So far, there have been enough mass testing in what I would call areas that have been taken together. Like, for example, we have been doing Kibra, a bit of Kibra, and Mombasa has been doing a lot of mass testing, and it has been done at KPA. So they started with Kenya Ports Authority, and when I say Kenya Ports Authority, I don't mean just the staff. You realize that Kenya Ports Authority is one big employer in the country, and so we have people who come in to pick their goods, who go out and all that. So everybody else who comes through KPA and goes through KPA has to go through the mass testing that is being done there. So we also put aside, they started with the health workers as well. So there's a center also for the health workers, and it's going on right now, it's ongoing. And let's say places that have been put together by the government and decided, okay, this is where we need to start with before we roll out the other places. You realize it's only Nairobi and Mombasa that we have high-rise cases. We cannot start testing Wandera, Majia, or Eldoret when we only have 2 cases or 1 case that is happening. Yeah.
Interesting. Damaris, I'd love to get numbers. You said, yes, you've started with Nairobi and Mombasa, but we would appreciate numbers, please, if you don't mind.
So far, it's done every day. As of yesterday, they had done, I'm talking about yesterday, they had done, like yesterday, they did 668 tests. And the numbers came up, of course. We had a rise number. But what I'm talking about is you need the total figure of number tested. Okay, I'll just give you that in a second.
Hours. I mean, how many are we looking at? 668. Isn't it too low? Aren't we moving a bit slow? Just thinking out loud.
No. Remember, it's not just about walking into a shop and getting an injection and coming out. As CS said the other day, we had a shortage of what we call a nozzle, the one that we use for testing, and that was why we were doing less testing. And we want to be sure. We just don't want to be doing tests and then kidogo you run there and we don't have coverage. So yes, at times we do. We work with percentage. So for example, if you look at yesterday when we tested 668 and you find 7, so the percentage is low. It's like telling you when I test 10 and I find 7, it means it's very high. But when I test the samples given, so for example, from the samples yesterday, 17 people tested for the COVID-19, and it added the number to 320. You realize that we start working with the ages as well. We go with the age. Like yesterday, we had the ages was between 22 to 60. The other thing you need to notice as we do the testing is we're looking at the symptoms. Is this person very, very sick? Very, very. So they cluster them together. So all that process is not done like in seconds. Okay. It's done a period of time. Yes.
Thanks so much, Damaris. Just to quote Dr. Ahmed Kalebi last week, this is the managing director at Lancet, pathologist Lancet Kenya, whom we believe that they are doing tests as well. He tweeted, at day 35, confirmed COVID-19 cases are tracking higher than Italy and Spain, which went on explosively surge from day 45, while France, UK, USA surged from day 55. In the coming 10 to 20 days, we'll know whether hell breaks loose or we dodge the bullets. From the mass testing that we've already started and from the way things are moving, how can you tell our situation in handling this pandemic?
We all remember that what Dr. Amoth has been saying. If we do not take the measurements that the government has given, we still have models. Remember, we still have models that give us this measurements where we are doing either, for example, we had estimated we'll have 10,000 by the end of April. And that didn't work. So we have different models that are working across for us. What we are saying is, depending on how and the behavior, which is really bringing us problems right now, because Kenyans are not following up the rules that have been put out outside there and by the government. And if we do not change, for sure, we are going to have quite a number of rise. We are looking at losing about initially we were talking about 30,000 people, just that, if we do not change our behaviors as of today and as of tomorrow. So the most important thing is to work with changing our behavioral changes so that we are able to bring down the numbers. Just remember this, as we say and we keep saying, this disease does not travel by itself. Somebody picks it up and travels it elsewhere, takes it, anaipeleka na mwili yake. So we wanted to, we've been insisting people should change their behaviors. Then that way we'll be able to reduce the numbers by quite a good figure.
Thank you. So Kenyans, we can give them how many percent? Maybe 80% for adhering to the regulations. Anyway, that aside, one more thing, Damaris.
Yes.
Some people have been really advocating for a lockdown. With the letters on being Mombasa Governor Hassan Ali Joho yesterday came out clearly and very passionately saying that it's time we must have this discussion of a lockdown. As the committee which are responsible for responding to this pandemic, is it a possibility? Is it an option that you've considered? Is it a route that we may have to go, or is it that it's just a matter of when and not if?
Let me ask you, these people advocating on lockdown, why don't they start by doing it by themselves in the house? Before your government tells you we've stopped everything and putting it down, why do we have to go that direction? Why can't the same people who are advocating for lockdown start by staying at home by themselves? You realize we've told people stay at home unless it is very necessary, come out. And measures have been put outside there. They've said stay at home so that you save lives. But Kenyans are Kenyans.
Unfortunately, we lost Damaris. Damaris?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can get you.
Me?
We can get you. Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay. So we are asking Kenyans, instead of insisting on a lockdown that you want the government to put and to give us, we are all asking, why don't you do the self-discipline and the responsibilities that starts with you by yourself by staying at home? If staying at home yenye umeambiwa kaa nyumbani ili uweze kusaidia familia yako unashindwa kufanya. So why are we forcing the government to make us stay at home? Number two, look at the simple thing that we've been told. Quarantine is not a punishment. But you realize the other day that people were jumping, fence, and it's not a mistake. You've been told curfew. Let's start with the curfew that we were given from 7 p.m. How many people have defaulted and how many people have not followed the rules of curfew? So you're insisting on putting a lockdown, yet you cannot even manage curfew from 7 to 5 in the morning. So you can imagine how bad it's going to be when we decide, oh, okay, fine, we're going to do lockdown. But that's not a possibility. That's not even an option. What we're asking people is take the responsibility. Remember, this is not a disease for the government. It's a disease that you're protecting yourself. It is protecting me. First, you need to remember that it is me, Damaris, I am protecting. Before you think that it is CS Cargo I'm protecting, or this cargo is coming to make noise at me, or is just coming to say this and this, remember that it is you you're protecting. I'm protecting me, and I'm protecting my child. And for a very good example is when somebody is sick. For example, I have pneumonia. Let's just use a very good example as pneumonia. It's not a very good experience when you have pneumonia, right? And people need to remember that when you get it, it's you, your family, your neighbors, and whoever it is that you've come in contact, all of you are going to go on a quarantine so that you avoid the spread. It's not something that you would want to be in that situation. So what we are asking Kenyans is stay at home by yourself and save lives.
Thank you so much. So should we take you on record that you said lockdown is not an option, is not a possibility? Because that is the question.
No, it's not a possibility right now. What we are asking Kenyans is you take the full responsibility yourself as a person and stay at home. Follow the guidelines from the government. Wash your hands, sanitize, and if possible, if you don't have a sanitizer, just wash your hands. Keep distance. Come out if you must come out. Come
Thank
out
you so
if you
much.
must, if it's really a must that you must come out.
So lockdown is not a possibility. It's not something that we've discussed. So all these are just rumors and people are
Not
pressuring the
something that has
government.
been
That's
discussed.
it.
And if it is anything that is going to be discussed, it will be passed by the government. Definitely, CS Kagwe will be able to advise on that. But as of now, as of yesterday, you notice there's nowhere the president has said there'll be a possible lockdown. We're still on curfew. We're still asking people to follow the rules. We're still asking you from 7 p.m. be at home. We're still asking you to maintain your routine. Wash your hands, keep distance, wear your mask, and be safe. Remember one thing, that it is you're protecting. If we can have Kenyans remembering that it is me I'm protecting,
Yes.
I will stay at home and you will not need a lockdown. You only need a lockdown when you've refused to be listening. We only need a lockdown when things have gone up. And you can see the percentage. We've not reached to where we are barring 150 people per day. As you can see, and I keep telling people, the numbers of recoveries are very high. If you notice yesterday, we had quite a number of recoveries. I don't know why people are not talking about the recoveries that we are getting, what the government has done so far to see the recoveries that we have. We have quite a good number of recoveries, and meaning that if we just manage to do what the government is telling us, as we are right now, for sure this thing will go away. What we are saying is, if you are able to just manage what we are saying right now, and we will have more recoveries, which people are not talking about. I don't know why people are so interested in this idea of we get a lockdown, let's do this. I've not had media houses and you people also advocating and praising the government for having, good recovery. Look at the number. It's just not a number. Those are human beings that have recovered. And it means we are working. It means there is hope. It means that we are doing something. We are not having many deaths as compared to other places. So it means that the government is doing everything possible. And if you see when we finish some of the tests, people are released. You keep hearing us giving the numbers of people who've been released here and there. So for us, we're saying, why don't you also advocate for the numbers that the government has been able to treat and manage to send home?
Thank you so much, Damaris. Before I let you go, Damaris, you've asked Kenyans, and thank you so much for reiterating that fact that we just need to follow and adhere to what the government has said. We stay at home, we stay at home, we stay at home. But we do understand that for some people, staying at home is a privilege, and there is a program by the government to try and cushion the less privileged. Would you like to comment about that?
And if you notice, that one was rolled out, and people have been sent for money.
Perfectly.
It is
What's
true.
the criteria being used, especially now, advocating maybe, just speaking, for Muslims who have been asking about this and appealing to the government to extend the curfew hours to allow them to go and break the fast with the family. So what's the criteria that's being used to support this less privileged? Who are in charge?
The system is the Ministry of ICT is in charge. Then they're working with the Ministry of Interior because already they have the numbers. They already have the chiefs. There are chiefs in every area in this country. There's a chief. In every area in this country, there's a DO and there's a regional commander. So there are systems put in place, and people have been receiving funds. And I remember very well the president said it is for. They have structures of looking at how, whether it's the disability, the people with disability, the elderly. So that has been going on, and it's still ongoing.
Okay.
So it's something the government has been doing, and we have been urging media, including everybody else, to also focus on the positive things the government is doing. Let's just not focus on what the government has not been doing, what the government should do. Let us also look at what the government has been doing to manage us who have refused to manage ourselves.
So the structure is basically you go to the local administration, the chiefs and the sub-chiefs and the DOs.
Yes.
You register your name there, and then you'll be able to receive your stipend.
Your account is, yes. If you fall under that criteria, definitely.
We're looking at Muslims who maybe some are casual laborers and they're fasting during the day. They have nothing to do. So that's what I'm asking. They have been at the forefront advocating for an extension of the curfew hours. They have been calling HorizonTV and request the government and talk to the government. But the president came out outrightly and said that the curfew hours are not going to be extended. So these
I'll give you a very good example. I'll give a very good example. If you follow rules, definitely, rules are not meant for you to suffer. Rules are meant to protect you. Yesterday, I was at village market, and I noticed a lot of Muslim young people are actually not looking after themselves. They're all over the markets. They're all over the space. They're all over everywhere. And you remember, I spoke to the National Muslim Response Committee, which is there's a team there, and we were asking them to also talk to their people and try and give them the reasons as to why the government is trying to protect them. It's not a punishment. It's not. I know that I think they open at about the Ramadan. They open at about 6 p.m. Right?
Around
And you
6:30,
ask,
6:40 there.
yes, yeah. I mean, in terms of breaking the fast.
Yes, yes.
So Christians have the same thing. They always break the fast, perhaps at 6 p.m. as well. But that does not mean you go to churches, because if you come and think about it, that one of the reasons why I am supposed to stay at home and eat and break my fast in my house is to protect me. I will not be asking anybody else to give me permission to go outside and look for a disease. I will not be asking for permission to go elsewhere, to go and sit down with my friends and party. And perhaps, and as CS has always insisted, treat your next person as though they're COVID-19 positive. Have that at the back of your mind, that whoever I'm standing next to right now could be COVID-19 positive. So meaning it is for my own good. So I do not have to ask or look for permission or ask the government to open the curfew time so that I may go and look for a disease. Why is it that I want to die so first? Why is it that I'm looking to leave my children and die for the purposes of just because I want to break a fast or because I want to do this? I can as well just do that at home, because this thing, as we have seen, it is a global, it's a pandemic that is global. It's not just Kenya. So we're looking at supporting us, and we're looking at, I keep telling people, let's advocate. I will stay at home. Let it not be we. It will. Let's turn this narrative of the government has said. Let's start the narrative of I. Let it be a responsibility that I myself na mimi mwenyewe ndio ninafaa kujichunga.
Okay. Thank you so much, Damari. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for making time for us this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brother Smart, before you, thank you so much. Thank you. Brother Smart, before I let you go and before you go on a very short break, just to ask you this. What have we done for the less privileged within the community, especially around Eastleigh, being a leader there and being directly involved there, to cushion them, the bachelors, the less privileged who used to come and break their fast with us during this time of Ramadan? What have we done to cushion them this time of Ramadan? Now that the president has come out outrightly and said that there is no extension of curfew hours.
I mean, I was one of the people who passionately wanted, I even tweeted about it, an extension of the curfew hours, because in Ramadan it's a month that people come together, share a meal, share friendship, enjoy a meal together. But I was convinced by the other opinion of other people that this is actually not the time to have people together in a gathering. So I agree what the president has said. It's very important that we protect ourselves and others. Coming to the issue of helping the less privileged, I have been at the forefront, for example, in making sure that we do food donations across Nairobi to the less privileged areas, for example, Kibra, Majengo, parts of Eastleigh, and so on. So it has been very well. I've seen a lot of people, including Muslim leaders, do food donations. I have to commend what Governor Joho is doing in Mombasa, for example. He's been at the forefront in making sure that people are fed. Okay. And as a business community in Eastleigh, we have a campaign that is meant to help around 1,000 families during this month of Ramadan. So there's a lot of initiatives from across the community and across board to make sure that people are cushioned during this holy month of Ramadan.
Okay. Thank you so much. And inshallah, we're going for a very short break. We're taking a very short break. When we come back, Honorable Yusuf Hassan's still having some technical issues to reach him, but we're going to come back, inshallah, after this very short break. We're going to talk to him, inshallah, once the technical issues are sorted. And Hussein Khalid from Mombasa, Haki Africa. Don't go away, because we're just getting started.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. On the next episode,
mwingine hata ni mtu na mashallah na pesa zake kabisa, kwa nini ujipost ukipatiana? Wacha hii mambo ya wanasiasa wa siku hizi. Mwanasiasa akifanya lolote yeye afanyi kwa sababu ya lengo la kukusaidia, anafanya lengo kwa sababu ya madhumuni yake binafsi, anataka hifadhi kile cheo chake. Wallahi ingekuwa wanasiasa wana ikhlas, hii misaada yote wanasaidiaga watu, kamera zingekuwa zikifukuzwa. Hawezi saidia mtu mgonjwa hospitalini, mtu mwenyewe yuko hohe hahe, uenda wasaidia kulipa bill, kisha wapiga picha pop, I have paid everything, I have cleared the bill. So what?
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the second segment of the live Real Talk special edition, where we are talking about coronavirus, this COVID-19 pandemic. And joining us right now from Mombasa, we are being joined by Haki Africa Director Hussein Khalid. Hussein, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much for joining us, Hussein Khalid, all the way from Mombasa. Hussein, now talk of matters civil and human rights. Quarantine facilities are being used as punishment facilities, quote unquote. And now we've not had a word from you as the civil society. Does it mean that this is acceptable to the civil society?
Definitely, the standards that we've seen and very disappointed that we think that the government can and must do better. The quarantine system itself in general has very many challenges, demanding that people are having to pay for services that are way below par. It's something that as a state, as a country, we must think through. Kenya and is a signatory to various international human rights health conventions, and the standards are very clear, and we must ensure that we fully adhere to those standards. Our own constitution in Article 43 guarantees every individual the right to medical health and medical facilities of good standard. So yes, in general, just to answer your question, the quarantine facilities that we're seeing presently fall way below par, and there are direct infringement of the rights of those persons who are kept in those places.
Besides that, this week we have seen cases, for example, Sylvia Dida has gone online and said that the husband, Eko Dida, was being actually put on forced quarantine because of allegedly recording a police officer while going and inquiring about the husband. So the question is, this being used, and a lot of Kenyans came online to support her and actually echo her sentiments that these facilities are being used as punishment facilities, and we've not had a word from the civil society. Hussein Khalid.
I agree that presently what we are witnessing is a flagrant violations of human rights, not just in different parts of Nairobi and other places, but actually in other places where we don't have media and we don't have exposure, it's far much worse. Okay. As we are speaking, we're dealing with a case of a woman who's been badly battered by security agencies in Mombasa, where he was in a facility as a form of punishment. So yes, we agree totally that this is wrong, but I also want to communicate that a lot is being done by civil society presently It may not be in the eyes of the media because of the current situation, but we are also risking our lives going out there, reaching out to individuals whose rights have been violated. But definitely the government must do better. It must watch, it must monitor its officers who are using these facilities as punishment centers, which is unacceptable.
Okay, thanks so much. So the civil society was on the front line in shaming the police brutality in the country while enforcing the curfew orders. Thank you so much. We applaud you for that. But again, ironically, the same civil society was quite silent when there were human rights violations against the same police. We heard of cases of tear gas canisters being launched against the police in Kisumu. We had cases of stones being pelted against the police in Malindi, in some coastal areas. And we've had nothing from the civil society. Why was this the case?
I don't think it's entirely true that there was no word from civil society. As Haki Africa, I know, for example, we commented on the Malindi incident and we told citizens that that's not the way to deal with security agencies. Sometimes you find situations where the security agencies themselves provoke some of these citizens. You know, for example, you're talking about treatment centers being used as punishment centers. But even when that happens, we must understand that these officers are there to serve the law. And when they in any way engage in unlawful or extra legal operations, then the best thing to do is to communicate that to other authorities so that they can deal with this. So I think as civil society, we've also come out and supported, for example, at the ferry. We know that, because of the huge numbers of people, we're seeing over 300,000 people crossing the Likoni Channel every single day. And we have certain individuals who actually engage in, criminal activities. So when they do that, it's up to the citizens themselves to speak out. And when the police take action, we cannot, again, counter the police who are actually trying to work to ensure there is peace and security. So I think it may not have been out there publicly because of the
Hussein, there might be some issues. Hussein, can you... Hussein?
Yes, I'm saying. I feel that civil society...
Hussein?
Yes.
Unfortunately, we didn't get Hussein so well. So, Brother Smiley, we're still having issues on getting MP Honorable Yusuf Hassan on Skype call. Just going to ask you this, if you allow me, Brother Smiley. Maybe you can come in and support our Honorable MP, who's your Member of Parliament as well. Is that okay with you? Is that acceptable?
Acceptable for?
You to come in and maybe answer a question on behalf of MP, because you are a community leader as well. In your own rights, correct?
I have huge respect for Honorable Yusuf. I'm sure he would love to be here. It's only a technical issue, but I'm glad to answer any question that you want me to do.
Perfectly fine. Just one question. The constituents around Kamukunji are still gathering in weddings, family visits, of social life, not been affected the way the government is recommending. The social life has not been affected as much though the government is recommending. Why is this happening, brother?
I mean, to be fair to Honorable Yusuf, he's been at the forefront of making sure that communities follow the guidelines set by the Ministry of Health. He's been at the forefront in making sure that lives are protected. He's the one who actually urged the Eastleigh business community to consider closing the shops, even though it was a voluntary community initiative. He was at the forefront in making sure that people follow the guidelines set by the Ministry of Health, like I said. He's been very, very proactive. He's been very helpful. And to be fair to Honorable Yusuf Hassan, he's actually one of the few leaders in this country with a lot of integrity and transparency, who I have huge respect for. And he has made sure that communities across Kamukunji were aware. For example, there was a lot of civic education across Kamukunji on coronavirus, on COVID-19. He has a team who are on the ground making sure that people do what the government tells them to do. He has been at the forefront in making sure food was being distributed across Kamkunji, for example, in a neighborhood called Kiambiu, in Majengo and all that. So he has been very proactive. In terms of social gatherings, for example, my community of the Somali community, we are, people who love to come together, have a social gathering. It's actually called in Somali Fadi Kudir. We love coming together, having a cup of tea together.
Yes.
It was very hard to start with, but people are slowly getting to know and to appreciate how serious this disease is. And it's about giving people the civic education that they need to make an informed decision on their own. So we have been having difficulties making sure that people don't come together, they observe the social distancing and so on and so forth. So we need to have more civic education, more to raise awareness on the threat of the pandemic that is coronavirus. There is a vehicle that's actually going around Eastleigh at the moment, courtesy of Eastleigh business community, speaking in different languages, Somali, Swahili, and English, to make sure that people understand the threat that is coronavirus. So it was difficult to start with, but people are slowly learning to understand how bad this disease is. And also people from the diaspora, Somali community in the diaspora, have become victims of this disease. A lot of people died in London, in Sweden, for example, in United States, who are of the Somali community. And Somalis have relatives across borders in South Africa, UK, America. So people have realized, and people, some significant people, poets, singers, community leaders have actually died of this disease. So it's hitting home. This is hitting home, and it's people are making sure that understanding how bad this is.
Okay, thank you so much, Ismail. I still have a question in you for as far as sensitization is concerned, but again, we have a pressing question from a viewer. Damaris, welcome back. We had to go and look for you again. Karibu sana.
Yes, please.
So Yusuf from Makina is asking, Makina, that's in Kibra constituency. You've mentioned about the mass testing ongoing in Kibra and some other parts of Nairobi. So people are really worried and concerned about this mass testing. So how is it done? How are you going about it?
As I said, the government has plans and structures on how it's being done. So if today we realize that we've gotten, we've gotten a case and from this area in Kibra, that place is given a priority. You get that place is one that is given a priority.
And the periphery that the case has been found.
Yeah, and we do now the tracing of people and who the people have interacted with. So it's not door-to-door campaign. It's not like a campaign where we are doing like the way we did with Umanamba, door-to-door, or when we were counting people. No, it is where we where there's high rise, as I used a very good example. Instead, like for example, when we cannot go and test Eldoret and we only have 2 cases. So they're doing mapping. The word actually is mapping. So they map an area and they realize this is the place we really need to do. And as they're doing the contact tracing and being picked by the surveillance team, they concentrate on that area. They get the people around that area and they go. But at the end of the day, as we go along, everybody will be able to be at least managed to be tested. Because once we get a case, for example, we get a case in, like today we had an example in when Ruaka confirmed the positive cases. The testing started today in Ruaka. You get, so it is done by mapping. It is done by mapping.
Damaris, we've had one patient who succumbed to coronavirus in area like Kamukunji, and Asmali will agree with me that this was a leader, community leader, an imam to be precise. And Eastleigh is almost, not necessarily the same, but almost as densely populated as Kibra. So I don't know why. Asmali, maybe have you lobbied to have a mass testing rolling out in Kamukunji constituency as a whole?
Yes, it's one of the places that is on the map, and it's coming up. Yes, it's one of the places. As I said, there was a shortage of the nozzle, one of the equipments that was being used, the nozzle stick that was being used, and immediately we get, and I think they got some few. So, and remember, we were putting healthcare workers first initially. So as we get along, of course, we will be able to reach out every other area. Remember when we had the Siaya case?
Yeah.
When we had somebody who had passed on in Siaya, we went to Siaya to do that. And as I said, COVID is not like malaria. You know, it changes. What you have right now at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. is not what you'll have at 3 p.m. What you have at 3 p.m. might change at 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. So, and as we are being guided, of course, by the guidelines of WHO and how to do all these things together. So for us, as we still say, it goes with mapping.
Okay, interesting. Asmali, you're saying something on the same thought.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry?
In fact, I want to urge the government to do mass testing in Eastleigh. We have asked the government, we've requested the government to do mass testing in Eastleigh, and that's the only way we will find out how many people in Eastleigh have this disease. Like you said, someone succumbed to the virus, which is very unfortunate, but it will be very important for the government to come in and do mass testing. It will be very, very important.
Asmali, maybe the last question before I let you go, before I allow you to give you a parting shot. We've had huge impact in Eastleigh. Like a lot of things have hit home. One, the closure of prayer places and worship places. This is a huge shock on Eastleigh residents. That's one. Secondly, the closure of businesses. This was a huge shock as well to the residents and traders in Eastleigh. Have we had a perception change regarding this virus compared to when it had started earlier on?
Brother Faisal, this is an unprecedented times. Nothing is normal anymore. There was a lot of reluctance, especially by the ulama in Eastleigh, in closing the mosque, for example. As you know, Somalis are Muslims, and closing the mosque took a lot of difficulties to convince the people in Eastleigh and the Muslim Ummah in Eastleigh. It took a lot of persuasion from people of across, political, religious, and community leaders to make sure this we close places of worship, and also closing of businesses took a lot of. It was very difficult to start with. So we are in an abnormal times. This is not a normal time. At times like this, last year, Eastleigh will be packed to the brim at night. People will be coming together, do their tarawih in Jamia Mosque, for example, in mosque across Eastleigh, in Nairobi, Halinga Mosque. But last night, you could hear the penny drop. There was nobody on the streets. It was so quiet. And this is a time that we need to actually reflect and think about it a lot and pray hard so that this becomes a wind that blows away. It's a difficult situation. It's an abnormal time. It's not something that's unique to Eastleigh and Nairobi, or to the Somalis and Muslims in Nairobi.
And the world.
It's actually something that's happened across the world. So we need to pray hard. We need to make sure that we go back to God, bow our heads down, and pray so hard. This is an opportunity to go back and look out for each other, to be our brothers' keepers. This is an opportunity for us to forgive each other. There are people who have been here last Ramadan who are not here this year. So we need to go back to our Almighty and make sure that tunamnyenyekea, tunaomba sana, we pray hard, we cry, and make sure that we look out for each other. This is not a normal time.
Thank you so much. Damaris, thank you so much for holding on, because we have something for you and all your colleagues. Just hold on there. If you can gather your colleagues, if you're in the office, you can gather your colleagues. We have something for you just right now. They can come, all of them, and watch. All of them, just right now. Damaris, you have something for you. You have a gift for you from Horizon TV, okay?
You come here.
You've gathered them, eh?
We have something.
Okay, Damaris, we have something for you. Asmali, just a few seconds parting shot, and then we give Damaris the gift. Few seconds parting shot, Asmali.
I want to thank you. I want to thank Horizon TV for the great work that you're doing. Keep informing our people, our community. This is a great platform for you as a media house,
yes,
to make sure that we get the information that we need, especially on coronavirus. I want to thank the Muslim community for following the government guidelines. Keep social distancing, wash your hands, sanitize, stay at home.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Asmali. Asmali, there's something on your left. Just hold it still upside down. Damaris,
Yeah.
do you have people, Damaris?
Yes.
Mariam, wait. So Mariam, wait. Why are you showing them? So Damaris, this is from Horizon TV team and Live Real Talk team. And we've been here grilling you and asking you the National Response Committee ever since we started this special edition of Live Real Talk. Every other Friday, we've been having someone from your office to represent you. And we want to say thank you. Thank you so much for all the work that you have been doing. Asanteni sana. Nasser and Asmali are also holding something. We all, subhanallah, we lack words for you. We lack words for you. We don't know what to tell you guys. You're putting your life on the line for us. To you people from the National Response Committee, to all the medics outside there, to the ambulance drivers, to all the paramedics, to everyone, the CS Health, the DG, the CAS, everyone else. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Asanteni Sana. We salute you, the hospital cleaners, and everyone else. Thank you so much. May God bless you abundantly. Thank you so much, Damaris. Thank you. Thanks so much. Yes, guys, and that's how we wrap up the Live Real Talk this 24th day of April 2020. Thank you so much, Mariam. Social distance, yeah? Thank you so much. Guys, this is how we wrap up the Live Real Talk 24th of April 2020. See you next week, same place, same time. I've been your host, Faisal Kassim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you. Thank you to all the medics out there. Santeni Sana. Thank you.
Allah.